Thanks for tuning in to another episode of COSIGN Conversations. I'm joined by my homie, Dallas native. Done left us to move to Brooklyn, though, but he's still the OG in the city, man. My guy, Marcus Gilmore, founder of the Culture Supplier. He's an expert and strategist in branding, marketing, and experiential. How you doing today, brother?
I'm doing good, man. I'm super excited about this one.
Yeah.
A long time coming.
Yes.
And I'm super excited to be back in Dallas and just hanging out with you, man.
Nah, definitely, man, bro. Before we even get started, man, I always want to go back to like the backstory, bro. Like, do you remember how we met?
All right, so this is the funny part.
Yeah.
So we are at Chief Keef concert.
Okay, Southside.
Southside
Okay.
at the Chief Keef concert. And so we're just like, it may have been just super early on, but like sound check or something like that, and or an early performer. And we started talking, and he was like, "Yo, I'm about to start this magazine called COSIGN Magazine." I'm
Yeah.
like, I bet. Like, keep me posted, keep me in the loop. And from there, man, our relationship has continued to grow, man. We've done other shows. We've connected so many times. And what I like about COSIGN Conversations, that this is something we always do, you know.
Facts.
And this time, we press the red button,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? And now it's live, right?
Nah, facts, man.
So, yeah, man, that's one of the earliest moments I remember us meeting. Funny enough, Cal Banks at that time was the opener for, the
Crazy.
DJ opener for Chief Keef, and ended up, you know, holding down his set. So one of those full circle moments for sure.
Nah, early adopter. And for those who don't know about Cal Banks, man, tell us where he's at right now so they can see the growth of where we started to where he's at to where we're at.
Cal Banks, quick story. Like, Cal Banks is originally from Dallas as well. One of the early innovators of the boogie movement, the nation, the sound that was really prevalent in Dallas. And we went to college together, and we were roommates. And he ended up going to move to LA to follow his dream. The story is really a little bit more vast than that, a little bit deeper, but ended up signing to TDE,
Right.
and now has album placements from Maxo Cream to Isaiah Rashad to J. Cole to man, there's so many other people that I don't want to keep naming people,
Yeah,
but
nah, facts.
yeah, my guy, he's racking them up right now. So super proud of his growth and holding it down in LA, bringing the real vibes there.
Nah, definitely, man. So, founder of the Culture Supplier, bro. Like, you know, both have media outlets, man, and I always respected what you do, and for the culture and for the city. And even though you're in Brooklyn now, you still maintaining, bro. So talk to us about the early days of the Culture Supplier, where it started, what made you want to start it, the premise behind it. You know, give us the rundown.
Yeah, the Culture Supplier was the space. So my love for media started at like 8, 9 years old. I worked at my church and worked on the video ministry and worked also in the audio department for my church. So I loved media, like just being out there. And I ended up going to school for television and radio as well. And right out of college, I worked for the Tom Joyner Foundation.
I forgot about
and
that.
then I worked for NBC5 at the same time. And so while I was at NBC5, I noticed how I was getting a understanding of how news was moving, right? And I was like, all right, I'm going to create an outlet, but focus on just what interests me, right? And that's from the culture, from music to fashion to money to things that are just empowering our community from a health standpoint.
Right.
And so, yeah, I went there. I like put this whole website together, right? And
Yourself? You put it together yourself?
no, shout out to the people that helped from the back. When I say the back end, WordPress was the easiest way to make it happen, right?
Of course. Shout out to WordPress.
I understood how to develop a website,
Right.
but there were moments that the website went bigger than I could handle on my own. I had some writers who would do features, and their features would blow the website. And shout out to Joanne Imale. She is she's the founder of Maskey, which is a product for women. So, but she was one of those first people to say, "Sure, I'll help."
Right.
And she wrote a story that took the page off, and I had to go buy more space. And so again, the Culture Supplier for me was just this place, a home for me to create content, but capture the people around me.
Right.
From book tours to just different moments that I felt like needed a place, a digital real estate. So,
Gotcha.
yeah, that's where the Culture Supplier is. Today has changed, right? It's not the same. The landscape of digital media has changed.
Right.
I keep it because I own it.
Right. For sure.
Why let it go? And it sits under 3030 Media, which is my media company and consulting.
Okay.
Or do a lot of consulting out of for marketing.
Okay.
Yeah.
So let's talk about those early days, right? A lot of people who listen to, the podcast, they're also, whether they have their own blog or their own podcast or platform, right? Let's talk about those early days of finding early adopters to help write for a media publication, for a blog, etc. Like, how are you approaching them? Because, everybody is different. So how are you approaching writers early on in the Culture Supplier?
Man, I stood just behind it a lot, right? Like, my sister, she is like the I'm going to say bread and butter, but she is like the backbone of a lot of things that I work on.
Gotcha.
Or think about. She tells me when the idea is good, when it sucks, when I need to keep pushing. And so when I look at early writers, it was more centered around, all right, these people need internships. Right? So I'm 2 years out. I graduated from the University of North Texas in Denton. And I knew that the communication program, there were students that needed internships.
Okay.
So come write for me part-time.
Okay.
Come put some articles out for me. And it also was just like shaking hands, saying what's up to people. And I found different, there were people that had different interests, and I knew they wanted to write about it.
So, but in these days, I don't know what it is about, Gen Z, but like they want their bread.
They want to check, man. They want to check.
They want their bread, man. So how do you think people should approach, media these days? Because when you're starting off, you may don't have a big budget for, writers, for staff. So it's like, man.
I think the way I would approach it is like, it's a couple steps, but I say it's one, figuring out a way to create some content calendar and figure out what's going to be the most viral content that is going to get the page paid. Like, how can we get a check? All right. Or sponsorship, our favorite word, right?
Yes. Team sponsorship.
Team sponsorship. Team sponsorship. But like, I think it's those kind of things, like finding the smaller brands, the water companies, the software companies that are in need of link placements, and then reaching out to them and saying, hey, we can get you into this blog. This is how much you pay, $50, $60, $100 per placement. And then that's what you pay your writers. You make the article about something that's going to be interesting to the audience that's reading, but link insertions, like, you have to find finesse ways to get that there. That was free.
Nah, that's free game right there. But so we're big on sponsorships, man, and I tell you,
don't you got a course?
Yeah,
my boy got a course. Hold on,
I got a course, guy, workshop, whatever you want to do, we got you, man. But I always like to tap in with people in the space as well, man. So give somebody some gems, right? They've never hosted an event before, right? They want to. They have a community. They have a community though.
Yeah.
But they never hosted an event before, and they want to approach sponsorships, right? So, creating a deck, you can find that information online. That's easy stuff, right?
That's the easy part.
But it's like those contacts and being able to even get a meeting to discuss. You know what I'm saying? What advice would you give to that person?
So first off, the deck that you create for from a sponsorship standpoint needs to tell the who, what, when, and how much, right? It needs to have a compelling story, imagery, fonts. Like, it needs to really draw the person that you're approaching. Keep it short though, right? Like 7 slides, 7 pages, max. But it's also about like thinking what sponsor will fit authentically with the audience that is going to attend your event.
Gotcha.
I'm not going to bring in a brand that doesn't make sense or won't approach or wouldn't even be part of the target audience, because that's what the brand would say. Like, that's not my target audience, so why would I pay or monitor, give food or waters or anything like that? So I think those are kind of like the key things to understand. Like, who do I want to attend, and what do they already consume, And that's the brands that I go after.
Gotcha.
And then when you look at that sector, right, like just like when you walk in a grocery store or you look at an aisle of chips, it's always Lay's are just taking up 4,
Right.
boom, boom, boom. But then there's 2 brands at the bottom that nobody knows. That's the brand I'm going after. I want you, I guarantee you want my audience, I want your cash, or I want your chips because I already paid out, I bought sandwiches from somewhere, so now I have chips. Like, and also when you think about events, there are 3 to 4 things that you need to cover from a sponsorship standpoint. And that's 1, the food and water, or
Right.
food and drinks. Let's leave it at that, food and bev. Some kind of stage setup. So even if that's just like the chairs or anything, figure out a way to sponsor the setting where people are going to sit.
Right.
And your photo booth.
Yeah, you can do those in kind.
You get those.
Yeah.
Everything else, if you and this is like your not second job, or you have a 9 to 5, the other things you can kind of finance on your own. But those 3 things are really huge.
Right.
And they're big budget line items.
Nah, for sure. That's important. And I think a lot of people fail to do the research and actually figure out a brand's initiatives and target audience, right?
Yep.
They think just because Lay's, while we're going to Lay's, it's a huge brand.
Right.
I'm like, okay, well, Lay's will want to be in my event. But why?
But why? Right? Like, for me, like, shout out to Master P, but Rap Snacks. If I had to do an event, I'm at the doorstep of rap Snacks. Like, yo, this is I have this audience. Let's tap in. I know I go to the store, I go to 7-Eleven, I see the different, your chips there on the end cap. So that means you know your placement. So let's put it in the community. And that's the storytelling part. Like, I didn't even approach about a dollar sign or anything. I just said, I want to put it in the hands of the community, your target audience. They're coming to my event. Your chips need to be there and represent that.
That's amazing. And right now, bro, you on both aspects of it because you've done your own events, host your own events, so you seek sponsorships. And now with your new role, I feel like you're in charge of like delegating those, right?
Yep.
So kind of tell us your new role and what you do.
Yeah. So now I'm at an agency, another ad agency, focusing more on the brand side. So I manage a brand now, and their sponsorships in sports, music, and fashion. And so a day-to-day for me is like being able to understand what the KPIs for the brand is for the year and whatever they're working on, and look for big culture moments and peak moments where they should insert their brand naturally. I recently just did the McDonald's All-American game in Chicago, and that was like a big learning moment for me, right? Like, although it was cool, it's one of those unforgettable hoop culture moments. Right. Every top player has been at a McDonald's All-American game. So it was like this moment that I prayed for, like literally prayed to work on this game. And I had that opportunity. But when I was there, it's like, how do I make sure my client fits in with 1, hoop culture, and 2, the audience that shows up, which is families and also these kids that they always consume basketball all day. So that was one of those moments where I had to understand the target audience, but make sure it's authentic. Like, I never want my client to feel like, why are we here?
Gotcha.
And so that's my job every single day, right? And then internally just keep the ball rolling and make sure we do what we're supposed to.
What do you think is one of like the biggest KPIs brands look for?
Outside of just brand awareness and engagement, I think the second thing, without giving away too much, is just adapting to whatever I'll say this, it's adapting to their digital space.
Okay.
So if that's followers, if that is like hitting a certain link on the website, if that's downloading the app, some kind of integration digitally with the phone, because we have that in our pocket all day. The brand wants to be in your pocket. So how do they physically be in your pocket all the time? And so I think that's one of the biggest KPIs is outside of brand awareness and being seen, it's digitally, how can we capture you?
Got you.
Yep.
So like the black media landscape is really changing.
Yep.
I've seen some, articles are saying like brands are dedicating a lot of advertising dollars to black media. Why do you feel like that's happening now and the importance of it? And how does a black media company take advantage of that opportunity?
I mean, that's a great question. So I think that for what's happening right now and why companies are spending money with black-owned media, it's just because the black-owned media has a lens on what, and looks generally, it views its audience, let me clear this up, its audience is what the world looks like. Black-owned media, that the audience that looks at black-owned at media spaces like that, that's what the world looks like. We're in the third generation, people who have moved here. They've been in America for 3 generations, I would say, right? Like we're probably around that second. And so like this Gen Z and Gen Alpha, like they're the 3rd and 4th generation. They adapt where they come from, right? Like their natural home, but then they have the American too, the American side, but that's black culture.
Right.
So now they just merge it all together and they get a taste of all of it. So I think brands realize that and they want to be there.
Right.
And so that's why they spend dollars there.
So how do media companies take advantage of the opportunity? Because, you know, if you look from top down, you'll see, let's go over it. Well, Essence
Is number 1.
Black Enterprise.
Shade Room.
Revolt TV. Blavity. The Root. Then you got like the small, like the Root, Griot, stuff like that.
Right.
BET.
BET is is the grandfather of it all. I think the biggest thing is, especially as you're growing your brand and your media company, and this is something that I do as well, but just from a different lens, I just have to know my numbers. I have to know who's looking at my website, who's looking at my Instagram. Every month, if I'm a media platform or I have my, you run a lot of content through your Instagram, I'm looking at my stats. Where is the audience coming from? Where do I want to go? Did I have enough content that really captured the age that I wanted or the gender that I wanted? How do I make sure that my content shifts that way?
Right.
If I look at my calendar and out of 30 days, I only did 2 women's sports content, I can't be mad that my percentage of men and women is, or whoever identifies that way, like, is skewed.
Right.
Look at the numbers don't lie.
Right.
They are factual, like they're hard cost or they're hard number, like it's obvious. And so that's what I would do is like learn your numbers and then take a 30,000 foot view of it and say, okay, how do we shift to make sure that I get into the circles that I want to get into,
right?
Space I want to get into.
But this is $1 million question. In 2022, 2023, are websites still relevant though? Like, are you personally going to revolttv.com?
No,
or
I'm on their
essence.com?
I'm on the app, or I'm on Essence Instagram page. I think that the website still holds as digital real estate.
Right.
It will it's not the number one traffic driver. I don't think that it's the number one traffic driver every single day. But if you need to release something, it still sits at the home.
Right.
I think people still get revved up about being featured on websites and having content displayed there. So yeah, it's still relevant. You still need a strategy, but it doesn't require as much constant updating as your IG page.
Right.
Gary Vee said you got to drop 4 TikToks a week. A week?
A week?
Gary, I can't do it.
Facts, bro.
So it's just like that. You change your strategy, right? Like, so the phone, and here's another thing. How do you take your website content and then start merging it into the platforms that send out alerts? What do you do? And this is something that I'm trying to figure out. Like, how do I get my news alerts into Apple News? How do I push myself into a space where now I show up in the notification with these platforms? How do you become reputable in that space? Because people get Apple News notifications. They're getting like those kind of things, and they may read an article for 2 seconds.
Right.
But if it's on your Instagram page and you tell them link in the bio, then they go to the page, and then you miss 4 steps.
Yeah, it's a lot of steps in between.
Yeah. Where if I'm on Apple News or if I figured out a way to be inserted into these alert programs. Now I'm right there in the phone.
Right.
Boom. People rarely turn their news notifications off, right? And so how do you get picked up by CNN all the time from a culture standpoint? What questions are you asking? Who are you talking to get into the culture column or sports column? Because you already know who the big dogs are, but like, how do you create content that makes them want to pick you up, right? And so that's the new strategy. That's how you change it. It's like, again, the computer's in my hand.
Right.
The website's right there in my hand at all times. So.
Nah, gotcha. And how far out are you strategizing, right? So like this is Q2.
Yeah.
Like where are you at right now mentally? Like are you in Q4? Are you already in 2023? And where should people be at this time?
Man, so I think that if you look at it two ways, I don't skip over these months. Like I still know that there are certain things I have to constantly do from May until June. And that's the 9-to-5 corporate as well as what I do for 30/30 Media. And it's doing both. I have to do both, right? But also it's like, I got a question this morning. It's like, what do you want to do long term? And when I responded, I broke it up into 4 sections. I did 3 to 5 years, 5 to 8, 10 to 15. And it made, like, when I do it like that, that's how I think, because I can't imagine myself 10 years from now and what I'm doing. Like, I really can't see it. So it's like,
What does that look like? What does that look like?
hey, geez, come on, man.
That's what we're here for. What does that look like?
That includes a couple things. One, from a family standpoint, just hopefully have started a family by then, and have a family. But I think also being teaching a couple college courses, and also
Professor Marcus.
Professor. Yeah. I'm in my master's program right now, man, doing my thing.
That's what's up.
So it's just, that's part of it, right? Like to do that, to teach courses, like, and I'm saying at this secondary, whatever you call it, education level, like from a college standpoint, like I got to push myself outside in the wee hours when nobody's paying attention. Like, yo, I'm online. I'm like, boom, boom, I'm working. But also it's supporting athletes and influencers off the court or off camera. How do I help them secure certain sponsorships, put them in spaces where they grow their social currency, grow their brand outside of what they do day to day, what people pay to see them do, and pay them to see different things. And we'll take your basketball player of today. They don't do one thing. LeBron said it best, that shut up and dribble is not real to us anymore.
Nah, facts.
Your NBA player, your typical NBA player today can do maybe 5 things,
Right.
and still put up 25 and 10, right? And
Facts.
so how do you, as someone who works in the space now from a sponsorship standpoint, how do I take that information and go support the athletes that look like me, talk like me, the ones that don't? Like, I know the space and I understand it. Let's make it relevant. And so that's what I'll be doing in 10 years. We'll go back and watch this.
Nah, facts. And I think one thing, a lot of brands, when you talk about the space, a lot of brands and, influencers, athletes are creating these experiences.
Yeah.
Right. Why do you feel like people are investing in experiences so much right now?
Man. Listen, I'm experiential to my core. I produce many activations for Verizon and Walmart and these other bigger, those are big. So not bigger than that, but
huge,
right? Experiences allow you to see, touch, feel, understand the brand in real life today. We're going into the space where, it's, and we've already been there because of the pandemic, but it's being able to be across digitally and physically, right? So you're in the meta, but you're also maybe in person, or there's a virtual concert, but you receive some kind of like box to your house that kind of engages you in a certain type of way. That's where we are today, right? Like, people want to touch the brand. They want to see it. They want to understand the meaning behind it. And that's what brings them into the experience. And then you look at your basketball players, Art Basel this year. Like, the basketball players went into Art Basel and then develop their own space, even though they curate it in a certain type of way, from art to music showcases. That's what they want to do,
Right.
and that gets them to touch the people in a way that's like, yeah, I did pull up from half court, but like, yo, this is what I like to do as well, and now that draws people into them. So that's what experiences really centers around.
No, that's amazing, bro. That's what I like. And I go to, well, I haven't been to Complex Con yet, but when I see it, I see so many brands are integrated into, a weekend, weekend event lineup. And it's something that, I strive to do for COSIGN,
Right.
Still trying to figure out what that looks like for our uniqueness. But what I love about, companies like, Complex to host events like these is that, man, it's so broad because it targets so many different industries, bro.
Yep.
But but it also aligns, and it kind of brings me to the point of, not even just media companies, but people creating companies and they're not really niched down, right?
Yeah.
Can you speak on like the benefits of being niche and not versus not being niche? You know what I'm saying? Or basically both sides, because at COSIGN we focus on entrepreneurship and creators,
Right.
but in so many different aspects.
It's so many different aspects. I think like having a niche allows you to be, super hyper focused and allows you to be that thought leader in that space.
Right.
But then also not being niche allows you to be nimble and allows you to move, right? I look at some of the consulting I do or the projects that I jump on and work with. I'll go from working with an artist, like one of the artists I work with is Jersey Sun. And so I'll just work on really creative direction and what his marketing looks like, how we put out content. And then I'll flip over and work on, I'll take an influencer and just be like, all right, we're going to shoot these type of reels. And so like, it's the same thing, but like the output is different. One person is music and they have to have a certain image. And then
Right.
the influencer they already have an image and we're continuing to feed into that. Or then I may take a podcast and help them out, but it's more like developing show cadence and how to make their show really feel robust, but also, gives people the feeling that they understand what's going on.
Right.
I had the pleasure of, again, I said it earlier, but like I worked under Tom Joyner, like the legend Tom Joyner. Like
Major.
that's not
Major.
not like pulling up in the whip. Like you never really get to see that until you have to be around certain things to see that black excellence. And he did pull up in a Rolls Royce. You know what I mean? Like
We're pulling
to
up
work.
to work in a double R.
And he gets on camera or he gets on radio and it just turns on, right? And so I watched him develop his show, and then I went on the cruise, so I can see what it takes for someone to like develop content and pieces and then put it out. So I just take that same mindset, and then I'm niched down, but I'm nimble. Like I can work on multiple things, different type of avenues, but it's all aligned with the same thing, a certain type of marketing, a certain type of piece of work that I focus on.
Nah, that makes sense. That makes sense. I remember when I first started, I was all over the place.
Yeah.
And I really kind of narrowed down, but essentially I'm still able to, to be nimble and, move around in different circles, different aspects. So, I feel like a lot of our audience tries to figure that out. So I feel like that's definitely a gem for them. But you talked about podcasts, man, and podcasts is a growing market.
Huge.
I want to say in 2021 was a $14 billion market, and the stat that I read was, black listeners that listen to podcasts have a 73% recall on advertisements. So that means 73% of black people who listen to advertisements actually end up buying the product or service.
Facts.
That's crazy.
Facts.
Like the black audience, our dollar, like we talked earlier about the culture, like we really have a strong buying power.
We do.
So it's like, it's important for, brands and companies, to target us. But on the flip side, how do we know that information? How do we as black creators, podcasts, how do we take advantage of it and not just be somebody making money for somebody else?
Listen, first off, okay, so the fact, again, because you dropped numbers, right? You gave us numbers on how the black dollar, or not even the black dollar, what is being spent on podcasts. When I hear that, first off, if I have a podcast show, the first opening sponsor is me. It ain't nobody else. This ain't brought to you by. Shout out to everybody who does that, but it's brought to you by me or this brand or
whatever your
COSIGN Awards. We're giving out 10%. He's not doing any discount, but you know, like breaking it down that kind of way, and so the dollar stays in within. It's gonna go out, right? Like it's just it is like that's just where we are,
right.
So the other segments can be sponsored, but like those sponsorships that you have in between your show, make sure you getting a cut. Make sure your number feels what your cost is for your sponsorship. Make sure you get a cut. I don't like. Yes, it goes back into the business, but make sure that it goes back into the business.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Like,
That's
you're
even-
working too hard to be like, oh, I'm not taking $0 off the top. You can take $2 off.
Nah,
of
for sure.
2,000. Like,
Yeah. And that goes back to like people need to understand too the importance of selling something, right? Even though you have a podcast and you're like, man, you know, I just want listeners, I want an audience.
yeah.
But what can you provide to the audience? Some type of digital product, physical product,
products, man.
something, you know?
Man, I hate it. I'm forgetting his show right now.
Sorry, it's gonna come to you.
Yeah, it's Donnie Wiggins and
Sleepers for Suckers.
yeah, what is it called?
Sleepers for Suckers.
Sleepers for Suckers.
Social Proof Podcast.
Social Proof Podcast.
Yeah.
He will pull up on this show and like every
I love his show, bro.
ad. Oh,
Love
listen, I've only met him once, but like it was like that moment. I was like, all right. And this is early on. I could see where he is today. I'm like, that made sense.
Exactly. I met him early on too, bro. And I'm like, man, this dude, he has something.
Him and 19 Keys. I met both of them like at this event, and I was like, all right, I didn't understand it at that moment, but then now it's like, I got it.
Yeah. Well, yeah, David Shands though.
Yeah, David Shan. But his episodes, soon as the door opens, as soon as the camera comes on, it is like, oh, join our morning meetup for $1. Boom, boom, boom. You stay for $1. Da-da. Like, I ain't. In that moment, you are like, oh, okay, I'll join for $1. And now he's got you looped in. But then when you get in there, you're like, dang, I might as well pay for the value of
The community
the
and
access of the community. All right? And you're about to do the same thing because you're opening up the community, the COSIGN community.
Yeah, nah, of
Makes
course.
sense.
You know I go.
Yeah. So it's people want to be around who empowers them. So that's why kudos to you on doing that. But going back to the ads, like I'm jumping the ad off with my stuff. Point blank. Nobody else. But then I'll bring in the other things. But like that's another thing. Like if I'm a brand, if I'm a black-owned brand and I know I need that audience, I'm going after my podcast that I listen to or that I feel like my audience listens to, and I'm going to go buy a spot. I'm going to buy 5 spots.
That's gonna be my next question, right?
Yeah.
So, you know, we're in marketing, advertising, bro. Like, it takes multiple touch points to turn the customer, right? Like, you can't really do one-off things. So, like, when you are doing advertising or sponsorships, you're like, man, I need to be a part of that. Well, like, how many episodes, like, how many touch points should people really be?
Yeah, great question again. Like, if depending on the cost of the show, right? But hypothetically, you need to be in. If there's a show, like there's one podcast called Black Tech Green Money, and hypothetically, if I was going after that show, I probably would sponsor 5 episodes.
Okay.
In the middle, first 10 minutes, whatever. Like he's gonna do his open. I'm the second one.
Right.
Do that 5 times. Then don't let it be a visual too.
Yeah.
I need the lower thirds.
Yeah.
And so now I've done that 5 times. The video's just going to keep playing because tons of people is going to watch it. So I bought that space, right? Then you take the same ad, whatever is in the podcast and whatever's on the YouTube, that's my Instagram ad. So I create that same language, whatever you're saying on the podcast and that's on your YouTube, and make that my Instagram ad. And I'm going to run that ad for 7 days. Especially if it's a digital product or whatever it may be, like you move it in 7 days, 7 to 10 days. Yeah.
Nah, that's a gem right there.
Yeah,
that's a
like-
gem right there, man.
And that 70, like your Instagram or Facebook ads, you run that, and then if you understand YouTube ads, which is very difficult for some
Right.
people, it's okay. But then you figure out a way to sponsor the front of a couple videos for 2 days. And so like now you've ear, visual, Instagram scrolling. You've done 3 touch points, 4 touch points of the same thing that's pushing your community membership, right? To
Gotcha.
join. Yep.
That's crazy you said that, man. I'm not gonna lie, I'm guilty. I haven't really done much like Facebook ads, YouTube ads, anything. Like everything's been organic, but it's like, bro, to really open these doors up, bro. You got
It's
to.
too noisy.
Yeah, way too.
And although the algorithm has changed, you got to spend on ads that way, right?
You have to.
And be strategic about it. That's why I said 7 to 10 days. Like, no, I'm not buying a 30-day ad anymore.
Right.
I won't. Some people, that's their viewpoint. Like, but me, I'm 7 days
Okay.
because the way the algorithm is set up. Now it's back to chronological, but also like if it's a reel, like I'm pushing. I may try to take an ad of whatever I'm working on and turn it into a reel and see if that works. Like make it popular, make it look popular. Don't spend money on it because you can't with reels.
Right.
And then just put it up and see what happens. And that's really an ad, right? Like, so it's different. Sometimes you don't have to spend the dollar. You just create your piece of content in that viewpoint.
Yeah, but then where the ads really come into is the point to where it's like opening the floodgates.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. The funnel.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. You
You
got to
know.
loop people in somehow.
Gotta loop people in, bro. And
Yeah.
you know, and it's just crazy, bro, because they want you to spend to really tap into your audience. They want you to spend money. So it's like, man, if you got 30,000 followers, you're not going to see all 30,000 not going to see your stuff, bro.
Nope.
So you're gonna have to pay to.
You got to pay to play. The paywall exists, and you got to make a choice too. Like not go all in, but like diversify and say, you know what? Twice a month, I gotta. Out of the 4 or 5 weeks that are in a month, 1 week needs to be a sponsored week. Every month. It's only 12 weeks in a year.
Smart. At least start off there. What I've seen people fail at, and you know, so I'll say this. Even though I say I haven't done ads on like Facebook or YouTube, it's mainly as of late. Like I've done Facebook ads for like events and stuff like that. But what I will say is people start businesses with no advertising or marketing budget. You're already starting to fail.
But there are things you can do for free, but the other pieces, you need some cash behind it.
You have to. Like, if you really think about it, right? Name some successful businesses. Amazon, Coca-Cola, Apple, Nike. They still
Adidas.
advertise and market. They still do it.
Yep.
You can say, oh, they're billion-dollar companies, blah, blah, blah. They still have to be on top of mind.
They top of mind. I need to be first.
Right.
Yeah, like, I need to order something, Amazon. Because they said that I got Prime, I might as well because I have Prime. Like this, all these personas that happen in the behind the scenes, we actually go through those. Like there is someone that says, oh, I want to order something today. All right, how do we make Amazon the top priority when somebody thinks they need to order something? So ad buying is there. It's a must. When I created National Goal Writing Day back in 2017, focused on just like pushing people to focus on their goals. The first year, no ads. Like, just doing it. Like, it was an idea. I created a national holiday. I was caught up in the first part, which is national.
Right.
Skip that. Like, now how do I have impact? All right, so now I have to go do media buys, find a way to get interviews on these different local channels, and push myself to get paid media as well as opportunistic moments. But it costs. Even though the campaign is a free campaign, just to push people to get to work on their goals, it costs.
Right.
And then now where I like ran into the wall, it's like, what's the product?
Yeah.
I gotta sell y'all something. I need to sell something. But it was like, I didn't want to do a goal binder
Or a journal or something.
journal. salute to those who do,
Yeah.
but that wasn't what I envisioned as a creative. Like that's my brain does. I can do both sides,
Right.
and so it's like, how do you create something that people will pay for, but the dollar that they spend is worth it, and that's what I look at, like National Goal Writing Day and the Culture Supplier, like creating things that people say, okay, I'll spend $1 there.
Yeah.
That's all I want. Give me one.
It's millions of them out
It's
there.
millions out there. I just need a small percentage of your pie.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna have multiple pies.
Nah, that's actually pretty accurate, bro. And I feel like people need to approach everything they do strategically. You know, like we really. I know people say, like Steve Harvey would say all the time, you gotta fly.
Yeah.
At least be strategic about flying.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You gonna take a parachute with you.
Time to jump. Like,
you know what I'm saying? Is it cold outside?
Yeah, like I listen to a lot of Steve Harvey. He has a daily motivation podcast that I listen to each day. And his mind is, you got to go, but he's very strategic about everything he says.
Right.
It is not like a whim kind of thing.
Right.
He's thinking through it. Why he has, every time he comes on, he's like, hey, it's Steve Harvey. I got a radio show. But you like, bro, it's easy for you to get a radio show. But in the grand scheme of things, it really wasn't. So he's like constantly reminding you, like, this was not easy to get here. Plus I have the talk show and everything else Steve has done, which you just have to be strategic in some kind of way. I think the daunting thing that and you have to give yourself grace on this, is that we think, oh man, I got to get ready for 10 years from now. But like I said earlier, I don't skip over May through June.
Right.
I cannot skip over it right now. If I do, I'll lose my footing.
Right.
And then I won't be ready for 2023 when it comes, because it's coming fast. But like
Super fast.
the vision that I have for myself, I can't skip these next 3 months. Really the next all the way to December.
Nah, that makes sense, man. Two things. I know we're on time. Two things before we get out of here, right?
Yeah.
One, having a company, doing marketing, everything is creative. Like, we love to be creative, right?
Yeah.
But we talked about sponsorships, advertising, and marketing, bro. Like, that's all pitching, right?
Yeah.
So first question is, how often should you be pitching your brand? And the second one is, give people 3 to 4 tangible marketing things they need to do, like a checklist of 3 marketing things they need to do, whether it's weekly, monthly, or daily.
Yeah. All right. I'll take the first question.
Okay.
Wait, what was the first question? One more time.
Pitching. How
Pitching.
often should you be
Okay.
pitching?
So in regards to pitching, you should be pitching. I'll say this, and I'm going to break it down, but you should be pitching every single day. When I say every single day, the Issa Rae moment in the mirror, where you should be like talking about it and saying it. And if you walked up on this person, what would you say? So that's me. I pitch to nobody every single day. I tell my story before I walked even in here. And yesterday, I'm like, how do I kick off my story with KG? Like, I'm pitching myself, right? Or the ideas that I'm about to present to my client. Like, as I walk to get coffee in the morning, I'm practicing, how do I tell this story? Like, music is this, culture is this, basketball is this, we need to be at the center. Like, I practice this routinely all the time. So that moment, that's where I'm at. Like, one, you should be practicing every single day to have your story down. But when you look at brands, your list of 10 that you say, all right, I'm going to introduce myself on LinkedIn or pull up to whatever they're having that's sponsored by this brand over the next 10 months, you need to take those 10 names and apply it. Everybody may not cross everybody's name off the list. Again, give yourself grace, because one, you took this first step, which is writing the list down, and you found a way to activate on it. So when you pick those brands, prepare yourself to say, all right, I need to go to Atlanta, and I know that they're going to have these 3 things. No matter what, I need to shake the hand and say what's up and be ready to drop 30 seconds on my brand. It's, again, going back to what we just said, like, it's from a strategy standpoint. Like, if you want to pitch your brand throughout the year, cool. But it's not like it's a Mark Smith. Like you are sitting, you are dialed in. You're like, there it is. And you pull the trigger, not like machine gun. Just
Right.
every time it says, he's like, yeah. Some people go Arnold Schwarzenegger. They just where whether you need to be Born Identity one, bam. Like I'm very focused in on one thing and getting to the next brand and pitching myself. And so that's how I would do it. Like, I hope that's helpful.
Nah, for sure.
3 to 4 marketing things. All right, so I'm gonna do it this way.
Okay.
If I'm a DJ, and I have a festival or concert set, and I'm opening up. Your goal when you go out there is to grow your Instagram followers, get booked again, and create a hype moment for the artist before yourself. Here are these are 3 things that I would suggest.
Okay.
One, if I'm on a festival or opening up, I need to book 2 dancers. Do not go out there by yourself. It's cool. And when I say dancers, they're not out there the entire time.
Right.
They just come out and choreograph with whatever the Pop Smoke come on. You need them getting sturdy. You know what I mean? You got to have that moment to interact with the crowd. My second thing would be like, I'm going to take my brand as if I'm DJ MG or DJ I Kick Moons, right? That's my old moniker. So it's like DJ I Kick Moons. I'm going to go print I Kick Moons t-shirts. And when I get on stage, who want a t-shirt? I'm sending out 6 t-shirts with the dancers. My next moment is I'm coming from behind the table, and now I'm camera followers. Hey, whoever follow me in the next boom, boom, I see your follow. Meet me backstage or meet me on the side. I got. So now you've grown your followers. You create an Instagrammable moment, so your social currency has gone up, and you gave out merch. So now your brand is seated in that city. Don't let it be if you're a traveling DJ and you on tour with your artist, you should tell that artist, like, hey, let's do a combo t-shirt. I'm going to give it away, but like it's got your brand, it got my brand on it. Boom. So it's all love. It's not like, oh, you trying to promote your stuff. Right? That's my DJ. Like, that's what I would do.
Gotcha.
Other marketing gems, like, 1, goes back to the strategy. 2, if I'm a musical artist or influencer, like, as an artist, you should be pushing different types of content on Reels, TikTok, finding those trending sounds. Your day in a life studio, you need a cut. Your favorite music images of yourself, or you've done videos, you need to put together a 7-second clip of just your favorite music video moments. Put that in a reel. Like, these are ways to grow social currency. That's my marketing gem right now, is social currency. I want to show more value. As an influencer, as an artist, like, from an Instagram page, are you supposed to have only 9 photos today? That's what people are starting to do, right? They're 9 to 12, cool. But when you hit the next button and it goes to your reels, you need to be like
flooded.
It may be a 500 view, then the next one 4,000, the next one 12, the next one 25, and 400, but you're flooding the video content because people are moving fast there. But if I'm an influencers and artists, that real content, that TikTok content, I'm going to YouTube Shorts. Because YouTube Shorts is about to be number 2. So you're going to go home, and now to be Shorts.
60 seconds under, right?
Yeah. And then it's going to be playlist subscription. They're about to shift where the placement of the Shorts are in live, right? So live is kind of like people don't go live as much as they used to because it's a little weary. Like, you don't know what's about to happen. So you got to be careful. So for me, I'll drop something on TikTok or Instagram, and I'm like, oh, got to go over to YouTube Shorts. I may get 2 views. I don't care.
Don't worry about those.
It's not today. It's August, where like I've done something, and now people are starting to search for my content a little bit more. You know what I'm saying? So,
Nah, for sure.
Is it?
Yeah.
I was trying to see if there was another thought, but yeah.
Let's leave it on this then. Before we
Yep.
get out of here, man, we talked about YouTube. We talked about Instagram. I just want to speak to motivate the people who are worried about these vanity metrics, right? Getting 2 likes, 10 views. Talk to them to get past that, man. Just know that's just a part of the game, bro.
It's just part of the game.
Yeah.
I think that I'll look in the camera.
Yeah.
It is just part of the game
Yeah.
and it's natural as humans to be like, I posted something. How many likes did I get? Dang, 140? Bro, them haters, bro.
Yeah.
I was doing MG shorts over the summer. This is before Reels were taking off. Like where they are today, 6 months ago, Reels were not where they are.
All right.
Nobody, now everybody's a shooter. And when I say shooter, like now everybody can.
Yeah. Pan.
Bro, you was not like you weren't a videographer 6 months ago, but everybody's a videographer. And I would do these shorts, and I'm like, dang, bro, nobody like my stuff, bro. Like, what? I'm upset. But now, I just re-push them, figure out a way to get them back out there. And I understood the visual moment and how people look at content, but I was so caught up in the 140 views or whatever, it wasn't a number that I thought it deserved.
Right.
Give yourself grace. I've said that 4 times today. Give yourself grace. I want us to do that because you had the thought, you put it into action. Congratulate yourself on that.
Yeah.
Whatever the expectation you have, it's okay to have those, but don't set yourself up where it messes with your mental health. And some things you can prevent and some things you can't, but like, be aware of that. When you start saying, oh, dang, nobody liked it, or I only got 2 comments. It's okay. Did you put it out?
Yeah.
Did you shoot it? If you're sitting on it like we are, right?
Yeah.
Like, why are we sitting on it? Because we're thinking about vanity numbers. But
Let it
like,
fly.
sometimes I have to be like, drop.
Let it fly.
I'll just do one day. If you see a bunch of videos and posts, you be like, Marcus just
Hey, let it fly.
He was just like, let them fly. Like they go.
Nah.
And I think that's what it is. Give yourself grace, bro. Like our mental health it's already a lot with this phone, and it's so much.
Right.
So don't get caught up in the numbers.
Nah.
Blame it on the algorithm. Blame it on something that's just not you,
Facts.
and that people don't like you. That's you have to go past that.
Right. And keep it moving.
100%.
That's what's up, man. I'm here with my guy, Marcus Gilmore.
Yeah.
I feel like the summary of this podcast was give yourself grace,
Give
man.
yourself grace.
Dropped a lot of gems, man. I appreciate you, my guy. Please drop your Instagram, your TikTok handles, and let them know where they can find you at, brother.
Yeah, so you can find me. Can you find me? Oh, you can find me on Instagram, YouTube, Marcus D. Gilmore. TikTok is I Kick Moons still. I don't know why. I love that name,
all
and
good.
it's mine. So
It's a vibe.
But Marcus D. Gilmore on everything, LinkedIn as well. Drop a lot of content there. I think that's the Wild Wild West of corporate content, and so I'm on there a whole lot. But I appreciate you having me on the show. I'm glad we pressed the red button and get this down on
man.
paper.
We're gonna be you gonna be a regular, man.
Hey, man,
you gonna
come
be my
on.
Boosie. You know what I'm saying? Boosie and Vlog. But nah, man, I appreciate you, man. Please follow Marcus Gilmore on all social media platforms, man. Check out his vlog style content, man. I'm loving the voiceovers. I'm going to Chicago. By the time this comes out, I already went to Chicago, so you can follow my page. You can see my first take at doing, recap vlog voiceover, man. So I'm going to have Marcus get some tips, man. But thank y'all for listening. This is the COSIGN Conversations podcast, and we hope that y'all continue to live the COSIGN life. We out.
Hey, one love.
Peace.